I was wondering if you could possibly talk a bit about how Wax was originally distributed with the is like through an interactive website. I've never seen the actual thing, but I've seen screenshots of it. The Wax web.
Mm-hmm. One thing, before I say that, I just, after having given you a long, dense, and contradictory description, which is fine. I guess it was Dan who I forget it was. I think it was Dan who said that he was thrown off at the end of your last podcast on this subject. You said that you had watched the trailer for the upcoming sequel. You were put off because it was hyperdense, and when you went back to Wax, you were pleased that it was slower. And the density, as you saw, is in fact the entire point of the project. So the density of that description is also part of the way it is, and it's easily adjustable too. It's just sort of makes a bit of a phase change. The first project, not the first project, Wax, was a feature video that I made as a co-production with a television show on a German television back in the late. It premiered in 1991 on German Swiss television. Okay. And then because I'd gotten a lot of, I'd raised half the funds for it, I kept the copyright, and so I went and did a film transfer, which was a pretty new thing at the time, and I transferred on
to digital?
To 16 millimeter film.
Oh, okay.
And so then after that, I got, with a lot of footwork, I got lucky, and it opened theatrically at the Public Theater in New York, which was a big theater. And then I bicycled it, that's a video term, television term. I self-distributed it around to the art theaters. And so for the availability, of course, this means how was it available, and in what cultural, technical cultural context it was. It arrived in front of people. There was the theaters and in the newspapers, because this is usually kind of surprising to people who come across the film and they maybe come across it as a VHS. I sold it as VHS, and after I'd done that for a while, the distributor picked it up and put it into Blockbuster. So a lot of people found it in Blockbuster, which was,
it's a big deal.
Disorienting for some, orienting for others. And it's during that period that that'll happen from 92 into 94. And in 93, there was this event where I was asked if I wanted to the verb wasn't quite defined. It's not an upload. It was what they called it, at the time, now we call it streaming. It was a cast, a multicast. Mm-hmm. Of the film, and so that was done, and I got the right newspaper to look at it, and so Markoff, the New York Times correspondent, called it the first movie on the internet and contextualized with other things. And so there was a New York Times article. It's one of those things, history, but that's always the way it was with television history or media history, is that whatever is in the newspaper is what the history is.
Right.
That was it was fun. It was right across from CBS, and in a dead cold room, an old cold room. And anyway, so then after that, I met somebody who was met some people, and met somebody who was working with an internet with a move, as they were called at the time. And so very early on, just as the browsers became available, it was put up as a lot of web pages. So that's where a lot of people first came across it. And then, of course, there were and then I just elaborated that. And so now it's been a very, very long time, and many haircuts.
And so the structure of the interactive version was it was split into much smaller clips, I'm imagining, right?
It was, there was, I guess it was like the powers of two. There was, the base level, was something that I'd wanted to do, which was a script that was a shot by shot script. And so the main layer, was a shot by shot description. It was just exactly what you're not supposed to do. It was tell, not show. And so I just told it. And in In fact, I just 2 days ago, I just finally did the. That's the. I'm not sure quite where it fits in the imaginary structure. If it's volume E or if it's. I just finished the long version or the first long version of Wax that's based on that. So that's hard to tell you, but that's 30 hours long, and that's
30
just
hours.
it's the complete, and it's Wax talks. That voice just talks and tells the whole thing inside a particular structure. So there was and so that's for that period that it was on the internet from when I was making it for and on the internet from late 93 until I worked on it a lot until 95, 97 because it was hard, and then I ended up doing it mostly by myself after a while. It's really supposed to be sort of the way to make the next movie that I was going to do that I got funded for, which was called at the beginning was named after a little segment at the end of History of the World Part 2 by Mel Brooks, Jews in Space. So it's supposed to be Jews in Space. But it took me such a long time to make Jews in Space that a young Argentinian director made and released that film. And there's a film
an actual film called Jews in Space.
You can look. It's a drama, and
I guess it would be a drama. Yeah.
So want to make that film? It's like who doesn't want to make all the films? You want to make all the films, and every film is.
Well, we should rename the show Jews on Land.
Well, you should be a little hyperbolic. You could do in Hyperborea or on the internet or whatever you wish. Because you are
Jews in hyperspace.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I like that.
Or cyber Jews. As always. And, so that is, and the project name changed to the name that you came across in the, which is the telepathic motion picture of the Lost Tribes. That became the name of the project, but then through recursion, it's ingested Wax and Wax has ingested it. And using the trope of the first film on the internet and then that movie travels into the internet and encounters other movies, sort of like some space opera, and where the ships are sentient or something like that. And so the entire Wax Web project was, that was your question, was the first layer was shot by shot, and then there was upper layers, and then there were the spools or the gyres or the interweavings, because since the words were written, because the medium was hyperlinking, you could do a montage instantly and using links, and so I did a lot of that, and that'll probably be the next one.
That's interesting. That sounds kind of like there were a lot of Japanese video games that came out a few years after. I mean, not a lot, but like a few of Japanese video games a few years later that had almost the same structure to what you're describing.
Really?
Yeah. There was one called Serial Experiments Lane for the first PlayStation. Literally, like there's this girl. You find out that she like looks like a young girl, but it turns out she's actually the living embodiment of the internet, which it's like 1995, so they call it the Wired. And you're just going through files on her computer with like text descriptions, short animated videos, and like audio recordings of. It's a bit more fragmented. It's not all video, but it sounds like very similar.
At the sort of the combination of the beginning of the internet and the end of the CD.